story about Stand By Me as well is that I was writing it, although I had more or less left the Drifters, I was still friendly with the guys because I could understand why they didn't come out of that door with me. And then we were still buddies. You know, for me to not be in a group and lose all my friends was a whole other thing. So we had kind of gotten our friendship back in gear, and I told them about this song that I wrote. And I took it down to Charlie Thomas's place and rehearsed it with the guys. They loved the song, and they said, look, we have to take it down to George and we have to do it for him. So they took the song, and along with myself, we all went down to George's office. And here I am standing in there again, that I thought I'd never do. And the guys were singing the song, and after it was over, he lifted up his head and he looked at me. He said, Benny, it's not a bad song, but we don't need it. So I took the song and tucked it under my arm and left the office for the last time. Done a few songs and we had some time left over, and Jerry said, look, we have a few minutes left over, you have anything that you've written or whatever? And I showed him this song that I had written for the Drifters, but they didn't want it. He said, oh, it feels good. So he called all the musicians back in. We did it right then and there. We did what's called a head arrangement, like something real quick thrown together, and that's how Stand By Me was born. I would imagine if you hear the feeling in Stand By Me, you say, oh, you sound so sad. I was very sad.
How many remember the Funky Walk?
Not at all. I had never even for a moment thought that I'd be recording Stand By Me. I just knew that the Drifters was gonna hear it, like it, and record it. So when I showed it to Jerry and it just happened like that, I just sung it like that.
From the 60s right up through the 70s, you know what I mean?
I didn't quit the Drifters. Everybody assumed that, everybody always asked me as well, said, did you quit the Drifters? And I always say, no, I didn't really quit the Drifters. What happened with my situation with the Drifters, we were all young kids out of Harlem, and when we signed our first contract, because we didn't have any lawyers around, we signed a contract that we made, I think it was $125 a week. Regardless of how many hits we had, we never collected any money on those hits. So all we got when we first started was $125 a week. Out of the $125 a week, we had to keep our uniforms clean, we had to pay for our own meals, and send money home. And we got on a tour, and we had a hit record, and yet still we were still getting $125 a week, and we had all these other expenses to kind of keep things going. And at the time I just got married, and I tried to send home some money to my wife, and it just didn't work. So we were all very unhappy. I think the thing that hurt us most is that we did have a #1 record out, and we didn't know that we shouldn't have signed a contract because we were just so excited to become the new Drifters and things like that. So things happened. But we were complaining just to get a raise in salary. So we got back to New York off a tour one day. We called up the manager and we told him how unhappy we were and we'd like to meet with him. He said, okay, well, he set a time. We all came down to New York, and we had this great meeting. They selected me to be the spokesman. I would imagine they did that thinking that he wouldn't fire the lead singer. They were wrong. He fired the lead singer. He told me, he said, well, you stand over there and you speak for yourself. So I more or less stepped aside and I said, okay. And I repeated the same thing. I said, well, myself, and I started to say to the group again, I said, well, I'm unhappy about the salary that I'm getting. I'd like to have a raise. And he said, I can't afford one. This is with a #1 record. And he said, so if you want to, you can stay or whatever. And he took his hands up like that. So I looked at the other guys that were sitting there, and I took the whatever, and I said, okay, and I walked out of the door. I stood on the side because it was a glass door there, and I stood on the side so they wouldn't see a shadow of me or anything, and nobody followed. I was out there for about 15, 20 minutes waiting. No one came out. So at that time I said, well, you can go back in and apologize and take this $125. Or you can call it a day for show business. So I headed toward the elevator. The only person that followed me was the guy, Lover Patterson, who took us from the 5 Crowns to make us the new Drifters. Because of him believing in me and staying behind me and thinking that I was worth getting up in the morning for, I happened to stay in the business. Other than that, I wouldn't have stayed that long. But everybody, because most singers do quit groups to launch a solo career, but that didn't happen in my case. I had once I got out of the group, I was finished. I wasn't gonna do any more music stuff. I'd had enough of the pain and all the disappointment that goes along in music, and that's just short time with them. All the trickery, all of it just got right into my life in a very short time of being with them. And I didn't really like it. I enjoyed singing, I love songwriting, I love recording. All those things that involves with creating music was great. I loved that. And to this day, I love that. But all the other bits was very ugly and slick. And I never adjusted to slick stuff in this business. And I was glad to leave that part of it. And when I got down to the elevator, myself with Lover Patterson, he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go back and work with my dad in the restaurant. And just, I was already a star in the ghetto anyway, so everybody thought I was big stuff because I had a few hits and stuff. So I'd always made a name for myself, more of a name than I thought I'd ever make in my life. I'd done something, And I think the thing that convinced me more than anything else to stay in the business, I woke up one morning and I had a dispossessed under my door, an eviction notice in it. I went over to Lover Patterson and I showed him this eviction notice. I said, look, I have to stop this and get a job. I said, because these people are telling me within another 15 days they're gonna throw me out of this apartment with my wife. He got up and he got every suit, every little ring, anything that you can possibly put together to get up some money. And he said, well, come on, go with me. And he went to the pawn shop and pawned all his stuff. From that moment till now, I was gonna try my best to be a success for him. That was my first and last best friend in this whole wide world. And that was the first person that had convinced me that I was worth something. And that's how I made up my mind I'd stay in it for him more than for myself.
You want to do a little disco? Everyone to get in your seat. You can pony. Do it all. Listen to this.
Phil Spector was in the studio doing a lot of the recordings of the Drifters stuff. He was definitely there when we did Spanish Harlem. The bit that does that ding 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 ding. That's Phil Spector's trademark for Spanish Harlem. Yeah, he was very talented. I knew he was talented because he was one of the few that would walk over to Jerry Lee and Mike Stoller, and they would stop and listen.
You got what I want. You got what I need. Only you, and baby, only you. Say you, and hey
The thing that I like most about Spanish Harlem, the reason I think it was a hit, is because it was so different. And again, like I said earlier about Jerry Lee and Mike Stoller, when they go out to do something different, it's going to either be the greatest thing that ever happened, or it's going to just fail right away, with no in between. And when I did Spanish Harlem, and again, you have to allow for the fact that they had a feeling at this point of how to record Benny King, and before this is coming out of the Drifters. And Spanish Harlem, really, to be honest with you, again, I guess if there's a reason why I'm in this world, is to be a singer, because I don't try to be. When I recorded Spanish Harlem, that should have been a Drifters song, because it was a snowstorm. I got to the studio to record because Atlantic Records want me to continue the sound of the Drifters. So I made an arrangement with Jerry Wexler and Ahmed Erdogan that I would come in just for scale and do some more recording, as if I was still in a group with the Drifters.
You can dance, every dance with the guy. You can smile, every smile for the man who held your hand neath the pale moonlight. 'Cause old boy Gavin is taking you home, and in love you're gonna be. Oh, darling, say the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun, laugh and sing, but while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. 'Cause old boy got to take you home, and in love you're gonna be. Oh, darling, say the last dance for me. Oh, baby, don't you know I love you so? Can you feel it when we touch? I will never ever let you go. I love you all so much. You can dance, go and carry on till the night is gone, and it's time to go. If he asks if you're all alone, can he take you
he convinced them to let Spanish Harlem be my first sign as a solo artist. So if it wasn't for Jerry Lee and Mike Stoller, there would be no Benny King as well.
I wish I had that drink. Come on, let's give a round of applause. How about it? Come on. Let me hold it down. Let me hold it down. I don't want you working to beat me up. Can you get down? No, baby, you better walk down, sweetheart. Over here. Let's give another round of applause. She said, I don't know about you, but I'm doing fine, man. This song is a dance swing song, and it's about cash, money, the dollar bill. Bring the music up a little bit. Now listen to this. I don't drink wine and I don't get snuff. I don't smoke no funny stuff. I'm heading in a different direction. I'm looking for some better protection. Have you seen old Dollar Green? Tell me, have you seen Dollar Green, green, green? Well, I've been looking for him right now. You've seen Senator right away. Some people call him Buck, and other people call him Bill. He has the face of our president, but his home is in the U.S., man. Have you seen old Dollar Green? Tell me, have you seen Dollar Green, green, green? Well, I'm looking for him right now. He seems ready to right away. I went down to the pit to tell him what it's all about. You know they took in my message, but Dollar Green, he wouldn't come out. Have you seen old Dollar Green? Tell me, have you seen?
You know, I've been told that most of the singers, whether it be Marvin Gaye or whoever, I've been told as well, like Teddy Pendergrass likes all the things that I've done with the Drifters and afterwards. So I would imagine that a lot of the things that were done by myself and the Drifters did pour over to Motown, because you can still hear the softness of the things that they created that was very similar to the things that came out of Atlantic. So I too believe that they did pick up on that quickly and made a very successful company and some very successful acts through the following of the Lee and Stoller arrangement and ways of handling strings, especially all the Supreme stuff. I mean, you can just, it's all over that. You know? If there's a way to describe the Drifters sound, especially the Drifters that I was involved with, because the Drifters that was with Clyde's Drifters, as I call, when I call Clyde's Drifters, it's like Clyde McFadden, Gay Hart Thrasher, and all those guys, Bill Pinkney. They had the gospel set up Drifters, and we had the Drifters that had that velvet sound. because of the way Jerry Lee and Marcel produced it. It had that touch of elegance, just enough to take it from the level of being extremely R&B up to class and good style. I would imagine we were the group that would have been behind Nat King Cole if he was up there, because we had that kind of good style and class.
Hey, come on! Take it. Say hello.